Well, welcome back to the podcast. Thanks for being here. Did you know that the majority of listeners to this podcast are not subscribed? Please, for your little support to the podcast, hit subscribe. It helps us a lot. Like and share. It's one of those things where we don't have a Patreon. We're not trying to get money from people. It's more of this is your free gift to us for bringing you some cool guests like today's guest, Bear from Need to Breathe. A little bit about Need to Breathe, a 20-year history filled with the music industry's top accolades, including multiple Grammy nominations, multi-platinum certifications, sold-out tours, 5 #1 albums spanning the Billboard's rock, alternative, and other charts with over 3 billion career streams. But the most important part in this conversation that we had today was really special in that we just got super honest, and Bear gave a lot of wisdom. Just pure wisdom and advice. And that's what we're all about here on this podcast, is bringing the humanity, not the talking points, but the humanity of creatives and musicians, artists, songwriters into a format that you can get encouraged by. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Again, please share it if you love it. It's pretty great. Stay to the end. Bear from Need to Breathe. Here he is.
When I moved to Nashville, I signed a publishing deal, and the thought was I'd write for, stuff. Then I realized I don't know what's good. I wouldn't know if we wrote one good, I always say they would call back about a song always. I was like, that's the first one I wrote this week and y'all love it. And then, you know what I mean? I don't know. Co-writing things great if it's good people and you can trust them and soulful, But a lot of times it's I think if 3 people agree that the song means the same thing, it doesn't really mean anything. It doesn't have a place it came from now. So that's why I feel like that's the trouble with the commercial part of it. I feel like there's always this what do you mean by that? And now that 3 people agree in the room or whatever, now it means it just means the same thing to everyone. It means that it didn't take an artist to do it. Yeah. It was it's an AI version of the song in a way.
It's interesting you say that, because I was just having a conversation about how I like to put myself into a song and I like to interpret it, and it's like a piece of artwork. If you were to look at an abstract painting and I was like, yo, Bear, what do you see? You'd probably be like, man, it kind of makes me think of this, or I see this. Yeah. And I might think something completely different.
Yeah.
I might be like, oh, it's the boardwalk in Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that's the beauty of art, as is the beauty in music, like Bob Dylan songs.
My favorite lyrics are like that for sure.
Yeah.
It's poetic. Yeah, totally. And they're vague enough or odd enough or whatever. They create an emotion that leads you down the path of what it means. Sometimes though, it's I've been in a room before and they just just say what you're trying to say. And sometimes that's good, you know what I mean? If it is the emotion and it's no other great way to say it, sometimes the simplest thing works. But
yeah. That tune you did with Carrie Underwood that you wrote, was that something that you had brought in?
Yeah.
Because I really like that.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it was, it was totally something I did. It was during COVID. I wrote probably 150 songs that year, maybe, just by myself. And then most of the things that ended up getting cut that we co-wrote were definitely after the fact. So I was making demo. I was trying to learn how to make a demo during that time. I was like, well, we just use the space. We can't get together with people.
Yeah.
And I've been making records forever. I should know how to work this,
Like Pro Tools or something?
Yeah, I did Logic.
Oh, okay, Logic.
But I was like, and it's been really actually useful because I do write a ton. And so even giving the band an idea of what the song's like or whatever, me taking a first crack at it has been really helpful.
That's cool. I feel like that's something I don't see a lot or hear a lot. Like John Mayer, I'm a big fan of, and he writes by himself.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the artists I talk to or folks in town are always having these huge amount of writers on tunes.
Yeah.
And what I'm hearing is that you're almost more on the introverted, let me really sit with this and not have to write from 11 to 2 because someone's got a heart at it too. Right,
yeah. Yeah, it's weird. I'm I found out during COVID, that I like the early morning better. My brain works better, and like
Me too, man.
so I get out there. I took the kids to school this morning, but like normally at 7, I'm out there. I kind of like that 7 to 1 or 2, and whatever's good's gonna. I can work on a demo after that, but not write lyrics, But yeah, I like for better or worse, the songs that I obviously relate to the most were the ones when I look back, things that I wrote, by myself.
Yeah.
And so, not that I don't need help with it, because there's a lot of times you run into a roadblock on a song by yourself. Once I've like second guessed it 3 times, I'm like, okay, I'll step back. I'm like, maybe I need to get somebody else's perspective on this.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, we're working on a new record now, and there's a bunch of songs that just were written like all at the one time, just me. And I love them. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And when you're singing them,
yeah,
it's like, this is me. This is my story. This is what I mean.
I can get stuck in a co-write, like when I've done both, and I like both really, but just I'll walk away and like, oh, I'm kind of, it looks like a costume I'm wearing or something. Just like I'm singing and everybody's in there. And so some of those songs just don't feel believable in that way. I think all music is obviously headed that direction in the sort of human element of it.
I think it is.
There's just no way. And for better or worse, like I think it's going to be, in some ways worse, rattier or whatever it is.
But there's a beauty in imperfection, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's what, I think as people as the AI thing happens and all that, it's going to be too good at doing what pop has always done, So I feel like that's why you see these like Zach Bryan characters and stuff like that working the way they do. There's an element to like, well, those recordings don't sound very good, but that's not what people are looking for.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking for like a real heart on your sleeve kind of thing.
Yeah.
I've been touring with Red Clay Strays, and they're like that.
Yeah.
Just exactly who they are is what they write. And they don't even pretend to be good songwriters. They're like, we don't know what we're doing, which I love. It's really refreshing. And I see that sort of just on the road of seeing that connection they have with the audience. It's like that. Like, you don't need to do anything special. Just do what you do, and it's working.
That's cool. That's Brandon, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I watched the making of your guys'
Oh, yeah. The Mama Loves Me. Yeah.
And how you played it for him backstage.
Yeah,
it's like, why haven't you cut this?
Yeah, yeah.
How long were you sitting on that?
I was a little while. That was a weird one because, like, the Born Again line kind of tripped me up a little bit. Not tripped me up, but just like that was, where I grew up, South Carolina, that was like a very 80s term. Like Born Again Christian was very,
yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Totally,
So to me,
very
it
churchy.
was like, yeah. But it was like when I wrote it now, it's like that would be nostalgic or old school. I don't hear that very often anymore. And so I just sat with it. And then Mama Loves Me Too was like, this is too sweet. It's just like, and eventually I was like, would Dolly Parton do this? Was my question.
That's an interesting
I was
compass.
like, you know what I mean? Just like does this touch some piece of like my humanity?
Yeah.
And the answer was yes. And then of course, like he was the first guy I really played it to. Cause I was like, I think you're the kind of guy that would like this and come from that same world. He's all my grandparents and everything from Alabama, and they're from Alabama. I was like, what do you think? And he was like, I went in to the halfway through the first chorus, and he's like, why have you not done this? So yeah, that was one. And that's another one I wrote by myself, and it's one of those, it's like you write in an hour or two, and then you're kind of like, I've found that like I get more nervous about the better songs. I don't know they're better, but they are true, which feels a little more revealing. So I feel like it's easy to put something like, just send to the guys a song I wrote that's like, I know they're going to dig it because it's cool or it's got this vibe or whatever it is. But when it's like real, like, through the curtain a little bit, that's the ones that are harder for me to send out. And normally those are the ones that do better for us.
That's interesting. Because I was going to ask you that exact question. Because I've been listening to it, and I was reading the lyrics too, because I just downloaded them off Google, and like everything in it lyrically is super vulnerable, and so like it's interesting, and I'm curious if it's metaphorical for you, Is it just factual for you? Is it a little bit of both?
I think a little bit of both. I'm trying to take, I mean, when it happens where I'm like proud of it is when the emotion is really strong. You know, like I think about, I have kids, you know, it's like when a teenage emotion of love is more powerful than anything we'll ever feel. We call it puppy love or whatever it is. It's like we like degrade it in a way, but the feeling in your body of that is like we'll never match again, right? It feels like that. But then as you get older, some of those feelings come up in regret or guilt, mistakes, or shame, or all that. Like it comes in different ways, it seems like. And that is those are real heavy, you know. So I try to take that feeling and then put words that would describe the feeling more than the actual situation, if that makes sense. And so, yeah, that's the way I look at it. So sometimes it might be, this is exactly what my mind is thinking right now. You know, like in a counseling session, you might write down, some people ask you to write down, like, what are the voices in your head saying? I'll try to like give a voice to that before I'm like rationalizing all the things I know, how to fix it, you know, like, oh, I know that's not true and this is not true. But these sort of core beliefs or those kind of things, like I feel like they sneak their way in, and that song's like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's a mix of like, I got friends that I should call, but I don't make the time for them. It's like, that's true. I'm the worst.
Can I guess your negative core belief?
Okay.
That you're not good enough.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And I have that, you know, I have a unique, it's not unique, but a couple of driving factors. The fact, like I grew up very conservative Christian preacher, fundamentalist kind of. I grew up in the 80s, you know, which was a time like their hype time for that. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And so then you don't, all the things you're not supposed to do. If you do those things, you're bad.
Yeah, you're like a church kid, and everything's about sin management.
Right. Don't want to be like,
I grew up
stuck
that
somewhere.
way.
Yeah, it's like, well, like I did it. Now am I going to go to hell now? You know, all that was was really baked in. Not that there's completely everything wrong with that to me,
but it
just
also
like,
makes it a little more exciting when you're sinning.
Right. It totally does. Totally does. But then, you know, I have abuse in my early, you know, pre-10. And so you like that stuff, you put the combinations of those core beliefs were pretty strong.
Yeah.
You know, and it got to where I didn't express that to many people. It's like probably the thing that breaks my heart the most about being a parent is the idea that they wouldn't tell you when they're struggling. And you're constantly trying to tell them that they can, and you can see them battling with being able to do it. You know, it's just like, and so I think for me, I didn't have that. I didn't do that well, and I didn't have that for whatever, you know, list of reasons. So music to me, the lyric thing probably is therapeutic in that way. It's like, these are all the things I wanted to say then. These are the feelings I had. If I would have been open, this was what I would have said, you know? So I draw on that, I think, a lot with songs.
Yeah. And then now, and you mentioned therapy, and I've heard you talk about therapy in the past, and I'm a big proponent of it, and I've done a lot of it. Do you feel like going back, you had to kind of like readdress all that childhood trauma and then like rework through it and then kind of rediscover your self-identity and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think, yes, I do. And I think the thing, you know, at least the way it's been for me is it's like, even after I probably 15 years ago, the first time I was like, actually did that, went through. And then this is last, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago, I went again and did sort of like a timeline thing again of like every year of my life and like wrote down all these. And so, and it's incredibly helpful. And you can see I drew out like on this wall, drew like, you know, the timeline of your life and then the things that you struggled with, you know, for me, whatever, alcohol, all that stuff, like, you know, depression, all that anxieties, like, and you make these like graphs and you realize like, oh, obviously they're all dipping in the same place. You know what I mean? It's like, and when you can see it out there, you go, whoa, this is, and I would just say like, you know, I'm 45 and that it was as if I was learning it for the first time, even though I have a lot of tools to deal with that stuff, you know? So I think we named the new record, The Long Surrender. And the idea of that is, I think it's something continuous. You know what I mean? I think we've always in like my sort of faith idea of that has always been like this daily laying down your life thing. There's like context for that. I think in terms of therapy, sometimes it's like, oh, I'll just get better. You know what I'll do is like I wish they'd tell you at the beginning, like, hey, nobody else is going to change. You know what I mean? They should just tell you that the very like first minute, you know, like, hey, the world's going to look pretty much the same. So how you look at it, you know, is what we're working at here. And I do think that's like a lifelong thing, at least has been for me.
Yeah. I'm curious about like, I thought this before, but years ago, I don't know, maybe like 14 years ago, I don't know. I saw you play in San Francisco. Maybe it was last Colony House opened.
Okay.
Do you know what tour that would have been?
Maybe one of the Compadres things, maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know.
You had this huge wall that looked like industrial behind you.
Okay. Yeah, I think that was. Yeah, maybe the first Compadres tour or something.
And most badass rock and roll show ever.
Dude,
by the
thanks,
way,
man. I appreciate it.
I didn't know what to expect because you listen to like the popular tunes.
Yeah.
And they're a little softer.
Yeah, totally.
And then you go to the show and it's like, which I love.
Yeah.
I love that, dude. And that was a weird night. That was before I was dating Haley, and this girl that I once talked to texted me that night. She was married, and she was like, I sense your presence here. It was really weird, bro.
Yeah.
Like just random side note to your concert, but my question was going to be about, do you feel, and this is my thought, sorry I'm taking so dang long to get to it. Do you feel like you've had to be like the poster boy for like Christianity and like had this pressure put on you where you're like, I got to be this certain archetype of person to be able to represent my music because there's a faith element, but we're not really like a CCM band.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you ever characterized yourselves as that, or if you were more like, we're a rock band, but we're believers and have faith, so we write it into our songs because it's who we are. And what kind of pressure was that, if you did feel it, to have to be that perfect guy?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of Men's Clothier? Well, I never heard of it before, but it's basically a fancy way to say a men's clothing shop. There's not a lot of them. In fact, most of the shops I go to, especially with my wife, it's like the men's section is like 25% and it's 75% women's. Well, Simon Says Nashville has 11 brands. I'm wearing some of their stuff, and they've been providing clothing for the podcast. They have 11 brands that you can't get anywhere else. A lot of it's made in the United States, and it's just cool clothing. The fits are different than anything you'll ever wear. And Simon Says Nashville is run by this really cool girl, Stephanie, and she has dressed many big artists for album covers, for red carpets, Midland, Marcus King, the list goes on. And go see Stephanie at Simon Says Nashville, or you can go to simonsaysnashville.com, and they're also on Instagram. You could DM them, and they've got the coolest denim stuff. Like, their denim collection is ridiculous. A lot of like salvaged Japanese denim, if you're into that stuff. I call it quiet luxury. Anyway, go tell them Stefan sent you. Now back to Bear.
I think I see it really differently than I did, for a lot of years. I feel like now my focus is a lot less on what the audience thinks. Not that I don't want to put on the best show I can, or those kind of, you know what I mean? Or that I don't want it to be meaningful, because I do. But I've just found like my experience is really all I have as a writer and performer. And so I think growing up as a preacher's kid, you already have that of like, well, you better behave because you're representing this whole thing, and it's all going to crumble. If I would say we had some feeling of that. And as like crazy as that is to think you're some representative of that, we definitely had it. And I think we fought it in every way because it was like, well, we want to be, good guys and good people. And, we want to talk about God, but we don't want to be in this category of this. Like, we don't want that to be the reason that we're selling things, or we don't want it to be the like pure motivation.
Yeah.
Was
you
that.
don't
So,
want to
like,
be the Christian band.
Yeah. I mean, just the truth is like, any sort of specific genre that's really limited like that, like even if country music gets to where like it's got to have this or this, like it starts to suck. It just that's and I think I've always been aware of that, of like, if I feel like everybody, commercialism really with music is really scary because everyone's making music now. It seems like not everyone, but a lot of people make music for the marketing arm that's going to help sell it. So let's say it's like, oh, it's this TikTok music, or it's radio music, or it's whatever, like it's got to be viral this way, or it's got to be Americana. It's got to be hip enough to get on this race. It's got to be, can't be this. It can't, it's like everything is sort of through a filter of that. And I just have never liked that part. So I think that's probably the rebellious part in me, was always like, I don't want to be classified as that. But then I think less about that now. It's much more about like what's meaningful to me. I mean, this new record we're working on is probably like the most gospel record, just because I feel like I'm at midlife in a lot of ways, and I had a crazy last 4 or 5 months where just like a lot of personal things are really tough, and it just makes you look at your priorities in a different way. I was like, I had to write a list for myself. These are things that are true. You know what I mean? I'm looking at it every morning, and at the top of my list is like, God loves you, therefore you're valuable. Like that's, hey, right? It's fighting that thing you're saying, I'm bad, or I'm not good enough, or whatever those core beliefs are. So to me, like I didn't set out to do it, but I wrote a record that was really a reminder of that, what it takes for me to remember that, like what idols kind of I need in my life, what drivers for marketing, or all those things need to be out of the way. You know what I mean? And so it's kind of a sweet record also, not intentionally, just like, I mean, just so much life change happened in the last 4 or 5 months.
Do you think that it's grown you?
Oh, huge. Yeah. I mean, I think, and at the same time, like the goal is weakness, like, so there's an element to that where I'm like, oh, how does this look? Yes, I've grown in weakness. I think that understanding of like, man, I just can't do this, by myself. And how I've been trying to do it and is killing me, and it still isn't working. It's like, so I think there's something really, I think I love that about AA as an example. I just think like the idea of like, I can't do this by myself. Like, let's just admit this. We got problems, Yeah. And I think that's the beginning of whatever growth there's going to be, Yeah. So I'm very happy right now. Very like, on the road to somewhere that feels really good. So it's impossible, I guess, to go back to your question. It's like impossible for me right now to like think about where I'm aiming it. Cause like I don't feel in charge of it.
That's a good place to be.
Yeah.
Cause you're not.
No, that's right. Exactly. Exactly. I think a lot of, you spend a lot of time trying to meld your career and how you want it to go. It's like, it's when I look back at that, most of that's been a waste.
Yeah. That's the tendency I think that we all face is any person of faith. It's like the holding on and then the surrendering, and they juxtapose it. It's this big duality. And it's like, all right, I want to surrender to God and like trust you. And then there's like this other side where you're like taking control again. And you're like, oh shoot.
Yeah, I mean, it happens just 37 times a day for me.
Yeah, me
so
too,
it's like,
man.
And I think that, so I don't know. I feel like the band has really been like you talked about that Mama Loves Me thing. It's like, I wrote this song, didn't know if it was a song, then go to like, I played it to Brandon, he's like, I'm in. So he'd been working with Dave Cobb. We're like, let's go down and do this track. Then we do that. And they're like, well, we maybe should follow this up with some songs, so we're going to make an EP, and then he's involved with a label now, co-president or whatever. It's like, and he's like, well, should we put it out? I'm like, oh, maybe, you know. It's like, then he's like, let's make a full record now. It's like, okay, all that happened within, you know, with none of us aiming like, who do we want to sign with and what kind of songs are we going to make? Or it was all happened so naturally. So it feels very, I'm just very thankful for that part. I feel like my hands have been off the wheel in a lot of ways. I've just been like going and making music, and the rest is kind of falling out how it falls out.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a purity to that, man. It's like a rebirth.
For sure. And we need that. We've been doing this a long time. You know? And it doesn't, I think people, you know, we don't have many of the same members in. We've got, you know, our piano player's been with us for over 15 years or something like, so a long time. But like, you know, my brother left, and then our bass player is leaving this year. It's like if we're going to keep doing this, are we going to be a cover band of what we were, you know, or are we going to do something new? I met a guy a long time ago, a counselor guy. He's like, when I meet with bands, they're one of two. They're either looking forward or looking backwards. Which one are you? And so that feels really nice to kind of feel like, you know what, there's so much pressure being in a band for 20 something years. And we're talking about the Eagles or whatever. It's like, you cannot, it's really hard to think about the new music without thinking about, well, is this better than that song we did 15 years ago? Is this like that record that everybody likes, you know? And it's like, it's poisonous to me. Mm-hmm. It's really like toxic to think that way, because you can't do anything new unless you blow up all that stuff, you know?
Yeah. That can't be your metric.
Yeah.
Those are all just chapters in the book.
Yeah, totally. And for better or worse.
Yeah.
But you just can't be that age and that going through those experiences now, 15. Like, I mean, I'll tell people all the time, like, I can love that stuff from afar, the same way other people love it. But I can't like relate to that person hardly at all. You know, it's like most of us can look back 20 years and go like, what was I thinking? You know what I mean? Not even a negative judgmental way, just more like I'm so different now. Life has changed so much. I couldn't possibly have penned that, you know, again. And I think when you start to do that, it does feel a little bit like you're covering yourself in some way.
I think there's a maturity though to the lyric, like Mama Loves Me. There's just such a maturity in that lyrically, you know, that you could never achieve 15 years ago.
Oh, yeah,
without the life experience.
Yeah.
Like I think about when me and Haley got married. Well, we've been together 13 years. Next year, married 10. But it's like me and her were completely different people. Yeah. Like I was so different. Like she would tell you I was super uptight, all kinds of things. I look back at myself, I'm like, you're an idiot. Mm-hmm. And then now at my age, I'm like, been through some things, lost both my parents. Like I've had a lot of like hard times, and I see the world different.
Yeah.
And even for me, like when I'm writing, it comes from a very different place than in my 20s.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think that's so dope, though, because that's where I think one of the things we lack is mentors. I think one of the things we lack and young men lack is men to look up to. Not perfect people.
Yeah.
But dudes that have been through it and that can share their experience.
Yeah.
And I think that's a cool thing that you are able to be vulnerable, channel it into your music. I heard you say that you wouldn't be doing it if you didn't love it because it's so hard.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
And what's the so hard part?
I think one is, you know, it's a business without a scoreboard. That is a very difficult thing to do for most people.
What do you mean by that?
Just, you know, you can arbitrarily pick one. You can say, oh, how many records we sell or whatever it is, but how many tickets we sold or whatever. But all of us know the best music, the most meaningful music is not necessarily the most successful. You know what I mean? It's just not that. And that's always never been a part of my thing. It's like, oh, you know, success is world domination. It's like the third house or whatever. Like none of that has ever taken any weight for me. So I think having it be a career when it really feels like something soulful at the core is tough, because they have to interact. At some point it's like, I just can't tour for free forever, And so I think that's one of the hard things is trying to find some balance there that you feel okay about, that you feel, convicted about. And then the other thing now I think is, I quit drinking a few months ago, 4 or 5 months ago. And being on tour, I think that there's a reason people do that when they're on tour. It's like, it's a distraction from the boredom. Like at this point, I'm missing my kid's football game, because I'm in wherever. Nothing against, I'm in Des Moines on a Saturday, and I don't play until 8:00 tonight, but I'm just there on the bus. You know what I mean? And there's only so many, people want to make it like sort of magic, but the truth is, like, I don't even drink coffee really. It's like people go to a coffee shop, or they go vinyl shopping, or it's like, I like to play golf. So that's a good kind of, distraction for me. I get outside and stuff, but there's just a lot of time. Anytime my wife comes out, she's like, this is crazy, and I wake up early. So I'm first guy up on the bus most of the time. So I'm walking around the venue at 7, nothing's loaded in. And it's an amphitheater outside of town, So I think there's a battle with that, at my age, where it's like, man, I really want to be around my kids and my wife more. So that's another thing. You got to balance that. It's like, oh, this is a job for one. I still love playing the shows. There's nothing about it. I would do that. Honestly, I would do the show part for free. And what I'm getting paid for is being there, being away from home and all the travel and all the craziness, so that to me is the hard part. And if you don't love the music you're making enough, like, I just don't relate to the idea. Like it's, I don't care what kind of money it is or what kind of status it is or whatever. It's not enough for me, So like the fact that I still am in my studio by myself and like, I'm like an 8-year-old kid in there. I love it. And I'm laughing out loud when I make something that I think is good. It's like, and that is the driver to me that like allows all the other stuff to kind of be part of it.
Yeah. About the touring, man, is that something that you feel like you've cut back on with being a dad and having kids and stuff like that? How old are your kids, by the way?
Yeah, I've got 10, 8, and 5. All boys.
Oh man.
Yeah.
We got
crazy.
Are they full boy?
Yeah. All 3 of them.
Oh man.
We have no chill ones. They're all like, they have lost their minds.
Ours is crazy.
Yeah.
He's 2.
Yeah. Dude, get ready. It's just,
oh,
yeah.
Geez.
Sure
you want another baby?
It's fun. It honestly though, it's like, it's clearly like, as much as it is crazy, it's easily the most satisfying thing in life. It's just unbelievable. So yeah.
Has it given you a purpose beyond music where you feel like?
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm careful too of like, you can become a thing where your whole purpose is being a parent. I don't think that's right either,
Haven't thought about that one.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, I ask like a lot of people. Drew Holcomb's a buddy, and so I remember he's close to his family, and I was just like, why, how has this happened? What is it? Because I would say my goal in life, which I think came up with 10 or 15 years ago, and I get distracted for a sidetracked from it, but it's like, I'd love to be a grandfather at the table with a bunch of family. Like, to me, that would be like life well lived, And I was asking him, I was like, dude, and he's like, we did it because of hobbies. He's like, my grandfather, we hunted and we went to golf together and we did this, like, we were just actually people together. So I think that's probably where I'm like trying to develop that with my boys, as much as like you have to be the disciplinarian. You gotta, like, you're trying to set them up for life, like trying to find things that are like really, I think it's really hard, at least, if a kid realizes their parent doesn't enjoy life, they're not going to listen to them. Right. That's just the way. So to me, there's an element of like, you got to keep living your life. You can't just live it for the kid, and their experiences. Like, I think to be trustworthy, you need to show that you're doing it well. Yeah.
Cause you're setting that example for the boys.
Yeah.
Like, oh, dad's going after what he believes.
Yeah. What he likes. And they come out. It's the best. Like my studio's at the house, but it's separated. So, They don't come out much, which is nice, but they do occasionally. The 5-year-old was out there playing drums with my demo this morning. You know, just like it's, they see that. They kind of see that's Dad's way of expressing himself and really getting into the weeds with stuff. And like, maybe I can do that with other things, you know?
Yeah. Well, how is it for the like self-discipline side of like, I mean, essentially as a musician, you're an entrepreneur because you have to kind of like get your butt out of bed and decide I'm going to go walk over to this studio and work. Yeah. And there's going to be times when you don't want to do it.
Sure.
Like
it's interesting.
Do you just always want to do it?
Almost.
Wow.
Yeah. The making of the music, I do. You know, if it's not if I don't get anything those first couple of hours, like then I can walk away. It's not like that, but I do. It's probably the thing I enjoy most, you know, as a hobby is that part. And I do look at it like that. Like I get in there and I'm just dreaming stuff. I'm not trying to think about, it's got to make a record. It's got to be, you know, I've got to stand up to something. It's like, this is just fun. So that part's easy for me. The hard part is, you know, all the business side of the thing. You know, it's just like, I've gotten to where I'm better, but I used to kind of like every time the manager called, I answered. You know, and then there's 30 minutes. Like I'm out now, my mind is in a totally different place and coming back is just so hard. So I think doing that, like being a little bit more reasonable also, like we've been doing this long enough, like we've made huge mistakes even when we were working hard. And you look back, it's like, that felt like the end of the world. And it really wasn't, you know what I mean? And so having some perspective on that's helped me, I think, just take this stuff less seriously. Like if it's meant to happen, it's supposed to happen. I mean, I played college football. So like when I got into music, I was bringing that sort of energy, which is not the right kind of energy. It's too much, you know? And so I think I've like over the years tried to back away from that a little bit. I can drive the guys in the band crazy in terms of the work ethic part.
Yeah.
But you got to know why it is you're working, what you're working at, you know, what it is you want. And I think that's a place I'm in now. It's just like trying to figure that out on a daily basis, you know?
Yeah. Cause you're really the leader.
Yeah. At this point for sure.
And I think that, that had to probably be something that was developed over time too. Cause I've never been in a band. I never wanted to be in a band because I'm a control freak.
Yeah.
And I kind of have like this alpha, like I'm like competitive and I don't want people telling me what to do. Do you feel like that was in you and eventually it was like, yo, someone's got to drive the ship? I watched the Beatles thing with Paul McCartney and all those guys sitting around, and without their manager, no one was really like taking charge.
Yeah.
And obviously you're the one that's the driver behind the machine now.
I think I always was, you know, like people don't know this, but it's like I started the band, like my brother wasn't in the band at the beginning. I started it with a drummer in college. And so it always was like, I spent all of college, like, you know, researching like the right PA to get to put in our trailer so we could play shows by ourselves. You know, like I like the sort of like problem solving in that way. And so I always liked, I was tour managing the band essentially for the first, you know, 5 to 10 years where like, doing the budgets for the lighting and all this stuff and like trying to find like I just got into that pretty heavily. And so I think that came naturally, almost the opposite to me of like what real leadership is finding out like everybody needs to want to be there. What's their driver? Like what's their why? And trying to like encourage and sort of hold them to that. You know what I mean? Try to, in the way that like, because each guy's different. I feel like that with 3 kids too. You have that sort of like, well, what motivates the 3? Or it's like completely different. Either living in the same house, but like one, whatever, it's candy, one of it's discipline, one of it's like, you know, so I think that's the thing I've tried to learn and gotten better at over the years, but I'll find myself in that hot-headed place a little bit still. But 15 years ago, I was a complete, like, do not get in my way, basically. And I look back at that really like embarrassed about how I acted a lot because I looked at everybody as like, this is the reason my dream's not coming true. It's you, because you didn't turn this mic on and you didn't get this guitar in tune. You didn't like, which is just a really horrible place to be, you know. As far as like, you know what I mean? Maybe in the military that works. I don't know, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work in music.
It works when it's all hired guns, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. There's an element. I mean, definitely we toured with Taylor, you know, years ago, and it was like that in terms of like, not that she's mean or anything, but just like this, if you don't do what you're supposed to do, you're out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's pretty clear.
Yeah.
Like we've got one leader, and I think that can work, you know, obviously, but in a band, everybody you need their best, you know?
Yeah. Do you feel like there's a level of like hired gunness in the band now where there's more freedom or less like weight of opinions?
No, I wouldn't describe it like that. You know, like I think of, you know, we were talking about, it's like the dynamic that like Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers kind of have, where Ben Mott and Mike Campbell are so like that's so integral to the way that band sounds. Like you have a writer and then you have the guys that like make it into a band stuff. I look at our guys like that. I think they don't write very much sometimes with me, but so like the directional place or what the band's going to say, that's going to end up coming down to me really. I want their sign off, but it's different than being like, hey, what should we say? You know? Whereas like, but the music itself, you know, if they're not feeling or they don't want to do it, I'm not trying to drive things through that. That's just not it's not a good way to be. And I also think like the reason I always liked bands was because of that. Not because they were just the best players in the world. It's like that group of guys, what do they sound like? And there's something really, there can be something really special about that, you know?
Yeah. What's your favorite song off your new record?
That's tough. There's a song called Long Surrender. That's the title track. That I love the simplicity of it. And then there's a song called Take the Blame. Which both were like really quick, right? I just wrote it myself. Like, I just look back and go like, man, having the experience of playing for 20 something years or whatever, there's certain songs. We have a song called West Texas Wind that the band does at the end of every show almost, you know, and it's like such a simple song, same way I'd written it by myself. It's like real. And the way it plays live, not just the way that is, it's just like I could play it in any circumstance. You know what I mean? It's like, and it just doesn't need a lot of stuff. A couple guitars and everybody singing. It's like, that's it. There's songs like that I gravitate towards now that feel like I could be playing this in 20 years and be very happy playing it. I'm very proud of it. Feel like it's going to be a motive every time. So those songs feel like that to me. But the whole record is that I took the filter completely off of like what we don't want to be or what we are scared to say, or so I think it's the best lyrical record that I've ever written. And that to me, that's saying a lot. It feels like a very, like I put myself totally into it, but not because it's necessarily like clever. You know, it has some of that in it, but it's like, I feel like it's because it's just true.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you could read these down and be like, I don't know who this guy is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Production wise, is it like if it was going to be on the radio, like country radio is so wide right now.
Yeah.
Like to me, and hearing what you come out with, I'm like, you could fit in the country format.
Yeah.
Is your thought now that the record's complete, and I know that labels have all these conversations and stuff like that, but honestly, like, are they gonna go, you think, the country route, or where do you see it going?
I don't
Americana is, you know what I'm saying?
I don't know. I mean, I think I'm very thankful that we didn't, you know, Need to Breathe had this like history of these albums coming out at certain times in your career where like things are happening or you kind of this anticipation. The Outsiders was our first like record that really like connected with people. And I remember that was after kind of a failure of a record, at least that we saw as a failure. And the only conversation was hopefully people pass this record around. That was like, we have to make something that's word of mouth because we just don't know where this goes or how it fits, you know? And I would say that's what this record is. Like, I'm like hesitant even now where the label calls like, oh, we should do this kind of press or this kind of, I'm like, I don't know. Like this thing needs to have traction to me. Like people have to find this in a lot of ways organically. And, I feel like having conversations like this help, but in terms of like the little soundbite of, it's like, it's not gonna really tell a story of a record like this,
Yeah.
And so, and I still trust that like really great stuff finds a way out there. So, in terms of the country thing, like I think in the last several records we've been much more open to that, and obviously country has also opened up to people like us. So
and Dave Cobb too.
Yeah.
Did
totally.
you work with him for the whole record?
Yeah.
How was it working with him, man? Because he's like, for people listening that don't know, like he's done all the Jason Isbell, Stapleton, Sturgill, all these great records of artists that we all love and kind of look up to that are kind of like off left of center, I'll say.
Yeah. I think, he's an old school producer in that way. Like he really wants a live take. He wants it immediate. He works very fast. I think, my takeaway, he's great at what he does, obviously, for a reason. It's like he can hear a song and immediately go, this rhythm, that sounds like other things that want to do this. Let's not do that. He's got great references for old school records that you're like, oh, this live record from whenever, from the 70s, like this way they did this drum in this one spot, it's stuff like that. So it is fun and inspired. To me, the thing that was like the most, there's a list of things. I'm not boiling it down to this, but to me, he had a lot of confidence in me, and I don't know if I'm really used to that. And that was like, I think of that. I've never worked with Rick Rubin. I think of that as that kind of process, of like, I wrote 3 or 4 songs the morning that we were working in the studio, and we only had enough days to do the songs we're doing. And I would play him a little bit and he'd be like, dude, we're doing that today. Finish lyric right now. And that gives you this feeling like, yeah, I was feeling this too. Like I woke up this morning, this thing just was a gift to me. And the fact that he's not scared of it, and he's more like, let's pour into those things that feel right now. I think that will play the most probably as I look back on the record, because it's partly the sounds and this and that, but like
that kind of gives me goosebumps, man.
Yeah,
it gives me goosebumps. I don't know why. I think it's because we're so. First off, you said he believed in you, so like knowing your negative core belief is that you're not good enough. When you have someone that gives you words of affirmation and that believes in you, and you feel like, because I struggle with the same thing. Like mine is that I'm a failure and I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
I think it's also what might drive us, maybe.
Sure. Yeah, no doubt.
But to have someone in your corner, like I almost need someone to tell me I'm doing a good job, because in my own mind, I'm like, no, you're not. You're not.
Yeah.
You're not.
Yeah.
So like a producer like Dave, and you mentioned Rick Rubin, who I feel like is the same, where there's no bad idea. And he's always like, think of the audience last.
Yeah.
Like, what's best for the song? Do the song. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And he's just organic, man. And there's just this like,
I think, it's powerful, because doing music for a long time, I've always said like bands most of the time get worse. It's because they learn too much. And it's also because they have, like when you're 20 and making a record, you think it has the potential to be the biggest thing in the world. That's the way, as dumb as that is, right? Like, or unlikely as that is, there's just a pure ignorance to the process of like, this could be, that kind of, whereas like, it's, even though you're trying to like, obviously try to make that happen in the studio now, you have less of a feeling like that. The truth is like, I know this is going to take a lot to get to this and to this, it's like, and I'm hopefully this means something to some people, and hopefully I get to play this more, you know what I mean? But the idea, so that, I think that hopefulness is tricky.
Yeah.
And I think somebody like that, and also like, I want to be a singer, that's like no secret. It's like, I mean, everybody wants to be a singer, but you know what I mean? I always saw myself as like, man, I really want to be in the class with like people think, beyond just like the chops and all that, but just like the emotional, I want people to feel something when I sing. And I think that's always,
you don't
like
got to worry about that, homie.
Yeah. He's worked with some of my favorites, you know. I mean, Stapleton, but in my opinion, is just like he.
I thought of you, Chris Stapleton, and Dave Grohl.
Okay, I'll take that anywhere in that conversation. Yeah,
I was like, you're all like tube amps.
Yeah,
and if you drive them, they'll break up.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he just was very. I thought, you know, like one of the songs we cut, I went out and he was like, "Don't sing too much, you're gonna wear it out," and like, whatever, you know, all this, and we cut it in the first take or two, and he was like, you know, and whether he's like building me up or whatever, it just felt amazing to me. Of him, he's like, Barry, you don't understand. That's 1% stuff. People don't do that. They don't go out there and sing like you just sang in a whatever. And I just was like, man, it just, and to me, it didn't make you, oh, well, I'm so great. You know, like it makes me drive like this lyric has to be this, and tomorrow I got to be better. So anyway, I think that's a little bit of magic sauce to me of those records. And you could look at all those and go like, man, those guys make incredibly good records that did not have perfect genres. Right. They found their audience because they were great, not because, you know, it was like, it's the next big whatever thing in this sort of world, you know?
Yeah, it's really undeniable. But most careers don't last like yours either.
Yeah. I'm thankful for that. I mean, obviously, and we don't take it for granted either. It's like, there's so many bands that we came up with that obviously are gone now. And there's bands that made it in the middle of our career and are gone now, you know?
Yeah.
And so I do think like, if I credit that to something, we always have tried to make meaningful music, you know? And I think you could still have an audience where if you polled, you know, 10,000 people at Red Rocks or whatever, like their favorite songs would be so broad. As opposed to like, yeah, obviously you have these 2 or 3 big hits or whatever. I mean, you were saying it's like some of the commercially, some of our like softer stuff is like what really drove on streaming. And I don't know if it's because people listen at their campfire or whatever it is. But when I talk to fans, that's not necessarily their favorite song. They're not waiting to hear the one that's the biggest. You know, they want the B-side on the 3rd record or whatever it is because it meant something to them in their life at that moment. So I think that if there is like a, you know, formula, which that doesn't say there is, but just I think if there is a thing about longevity, I do think, you know, if you're not going to be the Eagles and have every song that's like these massive number ones, then having a connection with the audience in like a real way, where they feel like they can trust you when you put a new record out, and they're having a conversation that's deeper than just like, you know, walked up to them on the street. You know, you have a relationship, I guess, and that's what it feels like with our audience.
What would you say to young artists now? I mean, the industry's changed dramatically since you got into it. And you've ridden all the waves probably through change in industry and record sales and all that stuff. But I'm just curious if there's any, if any, because some people don't have advice. Because it's so tricky and so TikTok driven and so confusing, but then so open at the same time to like the Red Clay Strays. Yeah, you know.
Well, I mean,
what's your advice to like
even with Brandon as a good example? Like, you know, he was a big fan of Need to Breathe for a long time, which is why like we met originally when he was in a bar band, you know, and. So I do feel this a little bit of like, hey man, if there's anything, like I've been through a lot of this stuff you're going through. It's the first time you're selling out all these places and, you know, everybody's telling you you're great. And, and they're really like, they have such a great foundation as people. But all I told him was like, don't listen to everybody else. I was like, you've gotten here by trying to be the essence of yourself. You're trying to write things that you feel. And the second that you're being around people and they're telling, well, if you worked with this guy, if you did this, you know, if you had, you know, whatever, not only is it probably not going to work, it's the end of your sort of reliance on what it is that you have. You start trying to make it bigger than, you know, you look at like, I don't know, I've always thought like the Ed Sheeran thing, like I wouldn't say I'm like the biggest Ed Sheeran fan or anything, but what I am a fan of is like, he like decided he was going to do it a certain way. He just did it. And no matter how big it got, it was never like, okay, now I'm going to start playing a nice guitar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At some point, I think we, just because I feel that sort of pressure of like, well, we're getting to play this venue, we better have this kind of production or these kind of, so that's one of the things I would say. And the other thing I would say is like a healthy life, is the only way to really be inspired. You can try to be inspired by other people. You can try to be about other people's stories. You can whatever. But if you don't have something to write about, really, that's your experience, your view of the world, then you don't really have it. That doesn't mean don't write in the other times. I always think of like I tell kids all the time, like, write every day, because you need the tools when that thing does happen to you in life to be able to express it well. Right. So all this is practice until the real like thing happens. So I don't agree with these people. Just wait for the inspiration. It's like, well, then you won't know how to get it across. You know, it's like that. You got to develop that muscle. Mm-hmm. But when it really does, and I think the only way to do that is being in connection with people. You know, so I think that's the first thing that happens when you make it. If you're a band like a Red Clay or whatever, it's like now we're gone 250 days a year. Now all this stuff is not reality. The way people treat us, they're telling us we're great all the time. No one tells us our breath stinks or whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you've just
lost total connection with the world.
Yeah.
And I think you have to fight that really hard. And like a Springsteen to me is one guy, like just haven't met him a little bit. It's like, was somebody that did that well, probably better than sometimes than others or whatever. But you just see like that you can be that. You can be blue collar and a really big artist. You know, it can work. There's no need to be. There's no need to become at home what you are on stage. Mm. You don't have to do like that. Is not a way. It's not a good way forward. It will ultimately, you know, I think crush you.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. That's also something that I admire about Vince Gill because I've gotten to know him. And I asked him once, like, hey, like, why are you so like chill and humble? And he's like, because my parents would have whooped my ass
totally.
if I wasn't that way. I thought it was interesting though, because there's a rarity in finding people that can really stay grounded, I guess. Mm-hmm. Amidst being worshipped.
Yeah, and I can give this advice because I did not do a good job of that at certain periods in our career. There's no doubt. Like, I, you know, but not that it matters. But to me, like in those 20-something years, there's been lots of full years where I was a total wreck, like outside of myself completely. You know, I like to use the like shadow self, you know, real self kind of thing, like true self. It's like I was a shadow for, you know, half of my career. So,
what does that mean?
I think I was playing for all those things, all the like, what would be the motivator? It was to make it. It was to have respect from certain people. It was to make money, unlike my parents made, and you know what I mean? It was all anti something I didn't want to be. So I got to prove myself to be it, or else I'm not important, or don't have a gift, you know? So I think there was just lots of times where I gave into those, even when I didn't know I was doing it. You know what I mean? I just wasn't well enough as a person to do that. And because of it, there's been some like real crash into the wall moments. You know, I can kind of go back through my career and life and go like, man, boom, this was a reset moment. This was, you know, so, and it feels like that for me, you know, 4 or 5 months ago, to me was like another one of those. Nothing happened the same way, or maybe it wasn't as bad. I wasn't in it, you know, whatever. But for me, like I felt that like, you're not being true. And like, do you want to look back and, you know, the second half of life and go like, that's what I was? Do I want to show that to my kids, you know? So, yeah, that's where I am right now.
It's interesting. I see. I think a lot of people that get into entertainment or music, I can just speak for myself. What you said, I think will resonate. And I think it'll resonate because I think a lot of people are driven by that. Like maybe they failed as a kid, or they never were picked for the all-star team, or they always lost the golf matches, or someone said they were ugly in their freshman year of high school and they had acne. I'm talking about myself.
Yeah.
And then I just felt like a failure and not good enough. And then that's the driving thing, is almost to like prove, like I grew up where my parents always fought about money and then they got divorced, you know?
Yeah.
It's like all those things you just said has also been the thing that drove me, or that might still drive me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do they still drive you? Or do you feel like you've done some therapy stuff where you're like, that can't be my driver?
Yeah, I think.
Because I'm curious,
Yeah.
because I feel like, this is just me, I can cut this out. I just feel like I'm trying to prove myself to the world. And it's like, if I do that and get to that mountaintop, then I'll be okay. And then I'll feel good enough.
Yeah. I mean, this is like, the answer stinks because but in another way, I think it's real. It's just like, I think if I saw those things, those drivers or those insecurities or shame or whatever, all those things across the board of like things that are not helpful to me, probably in like a soundboard, you know what I mean? They all got faders.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the goal to me is keeping those at 2. I don't think I can totally eliminate those things.
Can't hit
some
mute.
of them. Yeah, I wish I could, and maybe for a period of time you can or whatever. But just like we are human, I think that like my view of the world, you know, may be different than whoever, but like my view of it and the way, like the reason the gospel thing to me is like good news is because we're all at baseline broken and it's not fixable on our own. So like the idea that there's this noise that's going on in our sort of daily routine and recentering and, you know, trust and our faith and the people that we love and all those like things, to me are efforts to keep that stuff here in perspective. And so, yeah, I'm not like, I wouldn't say like I'm cured as a human.
No, dude,
but I
we're
would
all
say
imperfect.
for sure that like right now those feel like at a low and manageable where I can sit with it enough to go, is this the kind of record we want to make?
Yeah.
Do we want to put it out in a hurry? Do we want to say it's going to be for this? Do we want to go do something that doesn't feel right? Do we want that's insincere? Do we want no? You know, like I would say right now that feels very clear to me and I'm thankful for that.
Yeah. And then the record's coming out on the 14th, November 14th.
Yeah, another song.
Or another song.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So it'll be sometime early next year is when the record comes out.
All right. That's exciting. What's the song?
The song's called Where You Call Home.
Okay.
Which I have had that song for a long time, and it's a little bit of that. It's kind of like this idea of like what motivates, and it's not necessarily about home. It's the things that make us feel that way, our true selves. Like, you know, I think it's just so hard. Most people have a hard time answering if you ask them who they are, not answering in some sort of codependent way about, well, I'm this because I really want to improve these, you know, impress these people. And I want to do, I'm this because, you know, it's like, what do you like? Like, what's really in there, you know? So I think that's what home at least represents to me in the song. Because I think it's, you know, I like college football as an example. Like, I feel like some weird shame about saying on Saturday, if I can be at home for a Saturday football game on my own couch with people not talking, that's like, like, you know what I mean? That's gold to me. And that's one of those things you might go like, ooh, that guy's kind of a dork or whatever. You know, it's like, but it's like, no, I really do love it, you know? So like, that's the kind of thing I feel like feels like home to me, regardless of where that is. It just feels, so yeah, that's what the song's about.
That's exciting, man.
It's about college football. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, dude, you guys just wear jerseys the whole tour, man.
That's all we do, really. Just the other guys like will watch a little bit. They're not like me. Yeah. So it's most musicians, you know, we go, so you're not into ball sports, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you grew up in the South, man.
Yeah, I know. And I played, you know, through college and all that. So
you can't not be a fan of college football.
Kind of into it.
Yeah. Dude, it's been really cool talking to you, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I feel like there's just a really cool honesty and transparency and vulnerability and like freshness vibe. I remember talking to Jaron Johnson.
Yeah.
And he had gotten, it was the first interview he had done since he had got out of rehab.
Mm-hmm.
And he had this kind of like energy about him of just like really being like this transformation period and kind of relearning some things and all that. And like, I feel like I get that vibe from you a little bit too of like, and it's a beautiful thing because we're human and we're imperfect. And I think that people gravitate towards honesty and gravitate towards the people that are going to be real. And we like it, even though we're afraid to do it. So I just want to appreciate you for, and acknowledge that in you, man, for being honest, man. And
thanks.
I'm stoked for the single. Not the record's not on the 14th. The single's on the 14th, and the record coming up next year, 2026.
That's it, man.
That's exciting, man. Well, thank you very much.
Once again. For having me.
And man. And that's a wrap with Bear. Thank you, Bear, for being on the podcast. It was great to be able to talk to someone that I have a lot of similarities to, and I bet a lot of you have a lot of similarities to as well. And I think when we all get honest like we did today, it's one of those things that can encourage us all to not feel so alone, because at the end of the day, we're all not that different from each other. Peace, love, and do something nice for someone this week. Buy them coffee at Starbucks. I'll see you next week. Peace.